Hello, this is Yogeshwar 7000 again, and I'm back with another very important topic. And today we'll be talking about the four aims of life as per Hindu philosophy, and that's what has been described by several ancient scripts given to us by the ancient sages, that the four main aims of human existence, human life, why God has given us this body, is dharma. Dharma means, what is the right path, not just religion. If you translate dharma, it comes into religion, but it's not just religion in terms of a straight, direct translation. Dharma means the right way to live life. So that's the first objective. And of course, religion is a part of it. And this second aim of life, as per Hindu philosophy, is artha, and artha relates to pretty much wealth and material objects, because without artha, as per Hindu philosophy, there is no meaning to life. There's no motivation, rather. So artha has been given a very important place in out of the four aims of human life, or human existence, or living. And the third, because if you look at Buddhism, which is slightly separate from Hinduism, of course it emerged from Hinduism and it started their own way of thinking. They don't give a lot of importance to these four aims of life. They just say, well, all problems is because of desire. So no, Hinduism is not as a religion, but Hinduism as a way of life is different. First, they talk about dharma, the right way to live, as an aim of life. Second, they talk about artha, getting the material objects, what we need to live in this life. The third aim is kama, and kama is desires, all kinds of desires. Desires in terms of acquiring wealth, acquiring spouse. That is also a desire. That's one of the main basic desires of human existence, to get a spouse. And all kinds of desires, what we are here. So here there's slight difference again between Buddhism and Hinduism, is Hindus consider that actually it's good to have desires. It's actually one of the aims of human existence. So do not just ignore it and run away from it. Of course, the right way of life is very important, and so is wealth, which is artha, and so is desires. You're here to fulfill certain desires which remain unfulfilled in your past lives. So the third aim of human existence is kama, and the fourth and final aim is moksha. Moksha means the liberation, the final liberation of the soul. Where we are free from this cycle of birth and rebirth. And look at the sequence, how it has been described in the ancient scriptures to us. The first comes dharma, how to live life, and that's been explained very well. And of course, acquire knowledge and acquire the intelligence, and that is very it makes a lot of sense if we see what has been described as to how a person lives his first 25 years of his life. He acquires knowledge, he acquires his dharma, he understands the way to live, and then he goes on to acquire wealth. And then he goes for his desires. And don't we see that, okay, well, I've done my education, which is his dharma, and then I'll make some money and get married. So look at the sequence, very beautifully explained here in the Vedic scriptures, and related it to astrology. We'll just come to that point in a second. So dharma comes first, artha comes second, kama, the desires, comes third. People, they acquire and they go for the ambitions and get married, and that's kama. And then once everything is obtained, the dharma, the knowledge, the earth, the wealth, the kama, the desires, and the spouse and everything, then they say, okay, fine, that's the time for moksha, and then they move towards that direction. So if you divide the human life into 4 parts also, the first part is brahmacharya, which is, basically studying and acquiring knowledge. The second is grahastha, which is, artha and kama, which is acquiring wealth and fulfilling your desires. And then, of course, the final path towards moksha comes in, which is vanaprastha and sannyasa, which is the final stages of one's life. And that was there in the times of, the Satya Yuga, or Krita Yuga, as some people call it, or even the Treta or the Dwapar. But today we are living in a life of Kali Yuga, the age of Kali, which is slightly different. So you'll see people getting married at 65, getting divorced at 17, getting remarried at 70. So don't get confused with that. This is what we are talking as far as what was given to us by the sages, which was much more relevant during those days and ages. Anyways, but regardless of whether it's relevant to us today or not, I think it's very relevant as far as Vedic astrology is concerned. And so Vedic astrology also has described, as per the ancient sages, that out of the 12 zodiac signs, or the 12 houses which are represented in a birth chart, they have given a trikona to all of these 4 aims of life. So dharma has been given a trikona, and trikona in Sanskrit means a triangle. So the dharma trikona, as per Vedic astrology, is the first house, the 5th house, and the 9th house. And that is what is a trikona, or a triangle, which will talk about that person's dharma, meaning his acquisition of knowledge and his ideal way of living. That's his dharma. And then this triangle or trikona is the first house, 5th house, and the 9th house. And then the second triangle or trikona, as per Vedic astrology, as per the ancient sages. So this is not a figment of somebody's imagination. This has been given to us by the ancient sages. The second trikona or triangle is the artha trikona, which talks about money, acquisition of money. And that is the 2nd house, and the 6th house, and the 10th house. So you'll see it's like a triangle here, and I've placed it on the screen so you can see it and look at it, how it is placed as a triangle. The third triangle or trikona given to us as per the ancient sages is the kama, or the desires triangle. So the kama houses are the 3rd house, the 7th house, and the 11th house, as you can see on the screen. So that's another triangle here. We call it a trikona because they fall in a triangle. And then the 4th objective or goal of human life is the moksha. So it is represented through another triangle here as a moksha trikona, or a moksha triangle, which is the 4th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. So it's beautifully explained here in the birth chart, and it's represented through these 12 houses in a birth chart. Now, how do we interpret these 4 aims or goals of human life in a birth chart? So of course, as we know, there are 12 houses and there are 9 planets. So what we have to do is look at where the planets are placed in these respective houses, which is represented by these 4 objectives of human life. So when you look at the 1st house, the 5th house, and the 9th house, and the planets placed in the 1st house, the 5th house, and the 9th house, and the lords of the 1st house, and the 5th house, and the 9th house, then you'll get an idea of what kind of a life this person is leading, whether he is leading a life of dharma or not, whether he has acquired the knowledge or not. So if we talk of dharma, I mean, if the 1st house is a person himself, and it talks about that person and how he looks at his life as far as his dharma, his duty, is concerned. If you look at the fifth house, it is about gaining intelligence. It's a house of intelligence. Of course, it's a house of pleasures as well, which is also part of the dharma. And the ninth house is higher intelligence and the guru and religion and acquisition of all kinds of knowledge. So look at the first house, the fifth house, and the ninth house, and see that person, how he is doing in this present lifetime as far as his dharma is concerned. Now moving to the Artha Trikona, the second house, as we know, given to us by the ancient sages itself, the second house is a house of wealth anyways. So it's a Artha house, it's a wealth house anyways, we know that. But how come the sixth house is also considered a house of Artha or material possessions or wealth? Well, because the sixth house is about competitions. And it'll give you an idea, because everything is relative in this world. How are we doing in comparison to our competitors? So this house and the planets placed in this house and the planets aspecting this house and the lords of this house placed in different houses, which can be interpreted in several ways, will give you an idea of the artha he is going to acquire, or the money and the material possessions, because it's about competition. So that's how the sixth house is also considered an artha house, and it's a part of the Artha Trikona or the Artha Triangle. The 10th house is also Artha house. Why is it an Artha house? Why? Because 10th house, as we know, is about profession. It's about karma. It's the house of karma. So look at what kind of planets are placed on the 10th house, what planets are aspecting the 10th house, where is the Lord of the 10th house placed, what kind of relationship the Lord of the 10th house has with other planets, so on and so forth. And you'll get an idea of, based on the karma he's doing, because to acquire wealth or artha, you have to do karma. So karma is directly related. If you don't work, you don't acquire any material wealth anyways. So it's very important. It's part of that triangle, Artha Triangle, how you are working towards your goals. Towards, and this goal is to acquire wealth, which is artha, as far as this triangle is concerned. And then the final objective or the goal of human life is moksha, and this triangle is represented by the fourth house, which is moksha, and the fourth house, the eighth house, and the 12th house. So that's the triangle for the moksha triangle or the moksha trikona. Now, why is fourth house considered a moksha trikona, a part of the moksha trikona? Because fourth house is about, it's a sukha bhava. It talks about mental peace, because unless we are at peace within ourselves, we cannot move towards liberation. So fourth house is directly related to the mind and the mental peace. We have a stable mind, calm mind. We have acquired the other objectives, which is the dharma, the artha, the kama, and then finally we move towards the moksha objective or the goal. And the fourth house is about mental peace. And once we are at peace, why would we under peace? Because we've acquired all these three other objectives or other goals. So we're at peace. So fourth house is a part of the moksha triangle. The eighth house, why is eighth house considered a part of the moksha triangle? Now, eighth house represents several things, like, going into the mystics and the mysteries of life. And sometimes, they talk about a cult also, but leaving aside a cult, it's about understanding the mysteries of life. And also it talks about past life karmas. It's a very karmic house. So we have to see what planets are placed here, whether the planets have manifested in a way that they have negated some of the past life karmas as far as bad karmas are concerned, and sometimes it can be good karmas also. So whether the planets have done their job or not in providing him that kind of a balance which is required as a prarabdha in this present life. So 8th house is very important because it talks about a past life karma which is carried over in this life. That's what is prarabdha, what we are going to get in this life. So 8th house is about that. And unless, as we know, that unless we balance our past life karmas, we cannot move towards the final liberation, which is moksha. So 8th house also becomes a very important house as far as moksha is concerned. So look at the planets placed in the 8th house, what planets are aspecting the 8th house, look at where the lord of the 8th house is placed, what association it has with other planets. So that's an analysis you'll have to keep doing as you understand astrology a little more, and then you'll understand how it is connected or represented as a moksha house, or a house of final liberation. And of course the 12th house is about meditation, is about understanding the higher self. It's about total surrender to the supreme. So that's a moksha house, and very directly explained by the ancient sages, even when they've explained the house significations anyways. So we know that 12th house is about moksha. So this is how these 4 objectives or aims or goals of human life are represented beautifully in a birth chart, which is represented through these 12 houses. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. In the meanwhile, I will recommend subscribe to my channel, check out my website, there is a link below, and I will see you with an interesting topic very soon. Goodbye.